If you've ever built a project with a Raspberry Pi, you probably put it in a store-bought or 3D printed enclosure, if you even bothered to put it in one at all. If you plan on keeping your project around for a while, a case can make things look a bit nicer, but you don't want yours to look like everybody else's boring case, do you? In this weekend project by Matt Reed, we'll set up BitTorrent Sync on the Pi to create a quiet, low-cost data backup system, and we'll assemble the whole thing in a fancy mason jar enclosure. This Raspberry Pi preserve jar isn't just a silly visual pun, it's a great way to show off your Pi project. You'll need all of these parts and tools to complete this build. While the software should run on any revision of the Pi, you'll be best off using the original Raspberry Pi Model B. The reason here is the placement of the micro USB power jack. On the newer boards, this jack is on the side, and you'd have a tough time getting it to fit inside the mason jar unless you have a fairly unique USB cable. On the older board, the power jack is on the opposite side of the board from the Ethernet cable. It's still not ideal, but it's something we can work with. Start by taking your wooden board and trimming it down to a 6-inch square, then use a sander to round down the sharp edges. Drill a hole at each of the 4 corners 1/2 inch in for the decorative drawer pulls and rubber feet. Place the jar lid upside down on the board and drill the 7 holes for the mounting post, the power and Ethernet cables, the GPIO jumpers, and the 4 LEDs. Install the hardware that will secure the jar's lid to the board, and then fit the Ethernet cable and USB cable through the 3/4 inch hole. Run the 5 GPIO jumpers through the smaller hole. Connect all of these cables to the Pi. The jumpers will plug into GPIO pins 17, 18, 22, 23, and ground. Use a short metal bracket and some screws to secure the power and Ethernet cable. To connect the LEDs, warm up your soldering iron and start trimming a few short lengths of jumper wire. Strip and tin the ends of your jumpers and solder them to the PCB. Connect 4 330 ohm resistors in series to the GPIO jumpers coming from the Pi, and then solder these to the positive legs of the LED. Protect any exposed joints with shrink tubing. Solder all of the negative legs of the LEDs to a ground rail on the PCB, and then solder the GPIO ground jumper to the ground rail. Insert the LEDs into the 4 holes you drilled earlier and secure them in place with hot glue. Download the Noobs OS distribution and then flash it to your SD card. Insert it into your Pi, connect it to your network, and power it up. Connect to it via SSH and update the OS to the latest version. Install Node.js and the other software packages needed to support BitTorrent Sync, and then install the BitTorrent Sync software. Finally, set up the software packages to automatically run every time the Pi boots. You will likely also need to apply for a BitTorrent Sync API key to make the most out of this project. Okay, so you don't need to put the Raspberry Pi in a mason jar in order to reap the benefits of this build. But what I like about this build is that it's different from most of the other Raspberry Pi cases that I've seen on the net. So what kind of enclosure would you use? Do you have any other ideas for a better or more unique housing? Let us know what you liked and didn't like about this project, and send us your tweets and photos of your build. We just might feature it in an upcoming weekend project.